All right, we looks like we're live today. We got sent a subto deal just about a day or two ago, so I figured I would analyze this subject to deal just so everyone's on the same page. A subject to deal is a transaction in which you are purchasing a property, but you are not taking out new financing to pay off the old financing in order to buy it. The best analogy that I've heard is if you've ever tried to buy a property that has existing financing, when you take off another loan just to pay off the old loan, it's essentially almost you and the seller doesn't win, but the financier typically wins the most in the transaction because they get to take out interest they have made on those deals, and they also continue to keep all of the originational costs if there were any in the transaction. So just like in a grocery store purchase, if you ever buy groceries, right, and you use your credit card to pay for the groceries, the debt you have on the groceries is to yourself, right? Because when you buy your groceries and you go to checkout, like let's say you're at Costco and you are going to the entrance or the exit with a receipt in your hand that shows that you own the property. It is not the credit card company that owned your groceries in that shopping cart. So that's the best way that I've heard to explain the difference between the debt, which is the mortgage in place, versus the title or the deed in place that states who actually owns the property. So in a subject to transaction, you will be taking over the payments, not assuming a loan because the loan still stays in the seller's name. You'll be taking over the payments, but the deed will transfer to your name. So today we got sent this deal in 9903 Pine Forest Court, and these were some of the terms. Let me kind of pull this up to the center of the page so people can kind of see. You can see that it is 9903. It was built in 2022. 4-bed, 3-bath, 2507. Underlying mortgage is 298,934.03. So I'm going to go ahead and start plugging some of these numbers in just so I can kind of get these details to myself. 298,934. 298,934.03. Hey John, how you doing? Good to see you, man. And then our interest rate is 3.875. 3.875. There's a HOA of $31. I'm just going to put in some of these numbers in here. 31 HOA. Let's put that guy right in there. $25,000 to close plus your TC fee of $1,250. So TC fee equals $1,250. Actually, hold on. So on 2.5% for closing costs, I'm going to add another $1,250 for TC fee. Okay. And then $25,000 is the down payment. So I'm going to back into purchase price equals the balance plus the cash or seller. That equals 323. And since it says the PITI is 2438.09, I'm going to zero my insurance. I'm going to zero my taxes, right? But I'm going to assume that my PITI is 2438 equals 2438.09. So it doesn't matter if my number is off by a little bit, as long as I'm backing into the total PITI number. So if you see that a principal, interest, and a property tax number right now is 2438.09, that's the number I want for a accurate underwriting. Now, chances are, if you get new insurance policies, chances are it might be a little bit more expensive. So I'm just gonna add in an extra $100 add in extra. So if I say it's a little 20% interest, that'll probably cost me about $200 more. So let's just equals 200 divided by 12. This way I add a little extra money on top of the insurance premium. Okay, got 10% from a war chest, 8% property vacancy. So let me go get the rents for this area for a Section 8 rental, right? What do? We try to look for the county first. County is in Chambers County. So what do? We go to HUD FMR. I'm going to Google HUD FMR. So everybody's on the same page. Click on that. When you go down, you click on access to small area FMRs. Look up FY 2024 small FMRs. Look for your state, which is Texas, and this is in Chambers County, Chambers County. I'm going to grab the zip code. And in this scenario, the zip code is 77521. 77521. A 4-bedroom property here is 2120. So let me make sure I write that down. I don't care about a 3-bedroom because this is already a 4-bedroom. 2120. This is the FMR 77521. 77521. And you know what? I want to write the 3-bedroom in here just so I can have it be complete and keep good habits here. 1650 was the other one. 1650. That's a pretty big jump. 77521. 77521. 2120. Great. All right, so I got my FMR. Next thing I want to do is get my market rents. So when I go to the market rent estimator on affordablehousing.com, I can plug in the address for this property, which is going to be 9903. Copy and paste this guy over. I'm going to put this in as a 4-bedroom property. Let's see what the market rents look like. 2495. Great. So I'm going to feel pretty confident that I can get my FMR of 2120 if the market rent, according to this, says that within a 2.72 mile radius for 25 units, there is an average rent of $24.95. Usually there is a rent reasonableness test, which means that if the market rent was less than FMR, then typically they would pay the market rent. If the market rent is over FMR, typically they won't pay more than FMR. So that would be your new rent for this calculation. So the zip code, I'm just going to grab all these numbers. Zip is 2159. 2159. 2165. And the reason I'm doing this again, right, is so that I can share with my partners on what my research looked like when I underwrote this deal. 2341. Great. Got all my numbers here. And I'm going to plug in this rent, which is 2120. 2120. So for this property, if I bought it at $323,000, let's assume that I only have to renovate a little bit of this property. I barely have to touch it. So when you look at this property and look at the photos, let's look at it. It looks pretty turnkey for the most part. I don't think I need to do any flooring. It's supposed to be, usually I would replace the carpet, but if this was just recently built in 2022 and you're selling it, I'm assuming the carpet is in good shape because it's only been a year. Yeah, looks like it's in pretty good shape because it looks like it's new built. So I might just put in very, very little bit of my money, which is $3 times 2,500, just in case there are like dings in the paints or something like that. I just want to have a little bit of room for this. So if I go back to my rehab calculator, I'm going to zero everything out. I'm assuming there's no termite issues, no water heater issues, because I literally just bought this place or they just built this place. So they really shouldn't have that many issues with it unless it was a really, really poor builder in here. So I'm just going to zero out all the stuff I had. I want to put in 2,507, 2,507 for my painting. So that gives me $7,000 of rehab just in case of something happening. I'm going to zero out landscaping because everything looks pretty good. I'm going to zero out the roof because it should be a brand new roof. They built it last year. So all these assumptions, just what I think out loud in my head to justify why I think the renovation is what it is. As you do this or get contractors to go look at it, you probably understand what it might look like. So here's why this is not a deal. So if I rent this property out at 2,120, which is technically my ceiling rent, right? I would be losing $810 a month, which is negative 21.8% return. And this was assuming the purchase was 323,934. And the reason why this is a loser is because sometimes people will say, your PITI is 2,400, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, your PITI is 2,400. The rent here in this area is 2,800, 3,000. But for me, I don't see numbers to support that. I saw market rent 2,500. And worse, I saw the Section 8 rents was going to be paying lower. So HUD determines that the rent for this property is only 2,120 in the area. Now, does that mean the rents, you can't get rents like that on a long-term rental? Maybe. So maybe this isn't good for a Section 8. Technically, they probably won't pay you more than $2,120. If this is true at $2,800 for a market rent property, let's see what that yield does. At $2,800, this will yield us a negative 273. So for me, this is absolutely not a deal. I think this is just a good thought process for you to keep in mind because Sometimes we all just try to buy a subject to deal just to buy a subject to deal without realizing that the rents don't support it. Now, can you find another exit scenario? Maybe you gotta furnish it and make it a midterm rental or an extended stay, whatever you want to call that. But for me, this is absolutely not a deal. There's way too much risk. I do not want to buy an asset that is losing money every single month. That just seems like a poor decision. So even though it's a subject to deal, it sounds cool that you're buying a loan that has only a 3.875% interest rate. Does not mean it's a good investment property. Again, I'm not soliciting investments on this. I'm simply showing you my daily habit of what I do every single day. I start doing work. This is the non-sexy part about real estate investing, but this is what you need to do to look at enough deals and create that track history of you analyzing these deals so that when a deal comes across your table, you can have a little bit more confidence and look back at your history and your tracker and say, hey, this is a deal because I've looked at 100 deals that were not deals. So hopefully this was helpful. I hope you guys can copy and use the same deals I'm looking at to build your own YouTube channel, build your own credibility so that you guys can go out and eventually raise capital on your own and show yourself, most importantly, that you know what you're talking about, that you could be a little bit less fearful, and most importantly, you can help others by underwriting your deals for them or on their behalf. Awesome. Happy Wednesday, guys. I love doing this every single day. DM me on Instagram if you want a copy of the calculator. I've been fortunate enough to be shared these calculators, and I just kind of modified them over time to meet what I needed for my numbers and my analysis. And DM me email on Instagram at investwithkent. And if you want the full screen version, please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's called youtube.com/@Kent_HE. Awesome. Have an amazing Wednesday. Talk to you guys again tomorrow.